And good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, August 10th, 2021 school committee meeting. We are in a hybrid format at Lee Middle and High School, in the Lee Middle and High School library, and also joining the public at home. We are in a virtual meeting room per Governor Baker's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 20. This meeting will take place virtually via Zoom. And I'm hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of this meeting. At this point, I would ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The mission of the Lee Public Schools is to ensure students with the opportunities to develop the social, civil, and critical thinking skills to thrive in an ever-changing world. Ms. Bianco, can I ask you to take the roll call?
Mr. Robin?
Here.
Mr. Kinnis?
Here.
Mrs. Koshurik? Here. Ms. Larman? Here. Mr. Nichols? Mrs. Strickler? Here. Mrs. Wattsworth? Here.
Some extraordinary for leading the school committee meeting today. However, the next item on our agenda is the reorganization of the Lee School Committee. And so at this point, I would like to ask for a nomination for chair.
I will nominate Andrea Larman as chair.
All right, there is a nomination and a second. Are there any additional nominations for chair? Hearing none, I guess we will move to a vote of this nomination, and I would ask Ms. Bianco to, or is there discussion? Do we need to have discussion around this?
You can call for discussion.
I guess better safe than sorry. Is there any discussion?
Anybody else wants it?
Hearing none or no other. Ms. Bianco, can I ask for a roll call?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kinnis?
Yes.
Mrs. Koshurik?
Yes.
Ms. Larman?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes. Well, thank you. So next we need to elect a vice chair. So I will accept nominations for a vice chair.
I nominate Rainey Kinnis as vice chair.
Second. Any other nominations? Any discussion? Brenda, can I ask you for another roll call?
Was it Mrs. Strickler that seconded it? Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kinnis?
Yes.
Koshurik?
Yes.
Ms. Larman?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
No. Okay. Next thing on our agenda is approval of a couple of school committee meeting minutes. So the first one would be June 8th school committee meeting minutes. I will entertain a motion to accept those minutes. Which are under section 1 of your books. Which are our joint meeting with the selectmen when we approved I'm looking back to see. I believe it was Chris and Nicole.
I motion we accept the minutes.
Second,
I second.
any discussion? Okay, Brenda, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Yes. Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler? And Mrs. Wadsworth?
I'm good, I'm staying. And just for a point of order, the second should be a member of the school committee at the time of the minutes.
Okay.
So it should have, you could have
Okay.
done that. It's fine.
Okay.
It's good, but yeah,
Okay.
so, but I'm abstaining, I wasn't here.
Okay. And the next meeting minutes that we have is July 13th. School committee meeting.
I make a motion to accept the July 13th school committee minutes as written.
No second it.
Any discussion? Brenda, can we have another roll call, please?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Sure. Yes. Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler? Abstain. Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Thank you all. Okay, public input is next.
Andrea?
Oh, sorry.
You have another set of minutes and it's not referenced in the agenda.
Okay,
You could move them if you wanted to.
okay. Can you tell me which one?
Well, it says Tuesday the 15th. I don't know, is those more minutes or is it a continuance?
It's Tuesday that we had two sets of minutes that day because we did the joint meeting and then we did I think the date's just wrong.
Yeah,
did
there were two meetings.
There were two meeting minutes, but the date is wrong on it, so it should be June 15th. It should be July 15th, not, right?
I don't know, did we have another meeting? It was back to back minutes.
Are they, because we had two meetings. We had the joint meeting and then we rolled right into the meeting.
Okay, so even if it was a date change, 6:30, it's still two separate minutes, so we
Right.
have to,
Yes,
we have to twist
Okay.
that.
okay.
So I make a motion that we accept Tuesday, June 13th, school committee minutes at 7 PM.
But should it be June 13th or July 5th? July 13th.
July.
July
13th.
July 13th, okay.
No second.
Any discussion? Okay, another roll call. Thank you for catching that.
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Yes. Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler? Abstain. Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're ready for public input.
All right. Members of the public are invited to address the committee at this time. Issues raised will be normally referred to the administration or a subcommittee of the school committee. Do we have anybody out there willing to give their member input?
Here I am.
I see Kathy Hall. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. This report does not deal with issues, but with community events and or projects that may impact our school district and or its students. I always feel uncomfortable doing this because of how the public input is stated. So I don't know if at some point there could also be another little paragraph or something that talks about community outreach, but that's something that maybe this committee, could talk about that. But at any rate, community outreach for now, Chamber of Commerce Founders Weekend is right around the corner, September 17th to the 19th. There will be something that comes through the mail to tell you all the activities. The Lee Youth Commission, our meetings have been changed to the third Monday of the month. The next meeting is August 16th at the Lee Town Hall at 7 p.m. The focus is a community center. And the Lee Library, Creatively 21, the art show. Display your art in the 21st annual exhibit for the month of September. The items must be brought to the Lee Library on Saturday, August 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or Monday, August 30th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. A maximum of 2 items per artist will be accepted. Registration forms are available at the Lee Library. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Anybody else? Andrea, I don't see anybody else raising their hand or willing to come on, so I think this portion is over.
Thank you. All right, and I don't see any of our student representatives in the crowd this evening. So I think next up on our agenda is our superintendent report.
Good evening and thank you. So we're just about at the midpoint of August and we are less than 2 weeks now away from staff and coming back into the building, and just barely, just over 2 weeks from students walking the halls of LES and LMHS. We're very excited about that. Quick enrollment update for you. As of today, 317 students at LES, 330 students at LMHS, and we did a pretty good job of attracting school choice students this year. We made a number of seats available. Many families did take advantage of that, as is pretty typical. We had lots of applications that I'm sure weren't unique to us as families explore options across the county. But my hope and expectation is that we are bringing in a number of students who will be positive contributors to our schools. Quick personnel update, Katie DeVries has been hired to replace Tim Mertnook as Dean of Students at LES, and Ryan Suka has been hired to be a new Spanish teacher at LMHS, replacing a departing Maria Anto. There are other positions that are still being filled and interviews still taking place, but I expect that we'll be 100% full with staff on day one of school in 2 weeks.
Mike, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm just curious on Katie. Is she, I don't know her. Is she having a position in Lee schools already, or did she come from outside of the school system?
So Katie was a special education teacher at LES, and she's been with us for a couple of years. She's got a great skill set. There was a fair sampling of a pool of candidates for that Dean of Students position. And it got boiled down to a couple of finalists, and Katie rose to the top of that pool. And Mr. Mertnook and Mrs. Norton together and their teams are working to fill Katie's position and some others that are left void. You know, the domino effect that happens as internal candidates assume new positions, but it's great. We're glad that we can fill from within. Shows that we've got a strong pipeline of candidates in our district.
Excellent. Thank you for the update. I appreciate it.
Thank you. COVID-19, you've seen this slide in various fashions for months now, but I don't think it's ready to go away. So we caution community members to continue to employ safeguards, wash your hands, wear your mask when appropriate, and watch your distance. Guidance from DESE is lacking. I'm going to use that term, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but they are strongly recommending masks for unvaccinated students and staff at all grade levels. And I know that this committee will be taking this issue up in a couple of days. And I look forward to that conversation. I was hoping to get more of a mandate from DESE to ease your burden and the burden that's going to be assumed by school administration, by teachers, and by families. But we will do what's right for Lee as a community. I firmly believe that, and I trust that you'll make the right decision. I will tell families at home that masks are required on school transportation, though that is not something this committee needs to address. That is still an obligation that we have. That is a mandate, and we cannot waver from that. So again, policy sub and full committee, I believe, are meeting Thursday evening. There is some data that I pulled together today from the state and vaccination rates in Lee, and it's not as positive as I may have hoped, but I don't want to turn this into a political discussion. But you'll see here by age groups. I didn't list all age groups, but tried to capture those who would be mostly in our schools. And you'll see that fully vaccinated students in ages 12 to 15 are at 3%, 16 to 19, 4%. And then those who fall into staff numbers, potentially 10%, 23%, and 26% for those other age groups listed. There is still time if people are interested in vaccination. We had some degree of success with the mobile clinic that came to the schools in June and July. About 3 dozen people got vaccinated at that time. So those are positive numbers, and if we can keep them trending in the right direction. I did have a meeting, I guess it was earlier today, it seems like forever ago, with members of the Tri-Town Health Department, Jim Willis and his team, talking about what we can do to support each other and make sure that we keep open lines of communication. And I know that will be discussed in more detail on Thursday. Pooled testing is being funded by the state again this year. So whereas that originally was going to be just through April, and then it turned out through the end of the school year, and then it turned out through the end of the summer, and now it's right into next school year. I do plan to continue to offer pooled testing here at our 2 schools. Jordan Meyer and his team did a great job of working with county ambulance and collaborating to make sure that that testing was done efficiently, and we will continue to do that. If anyone wants to offer or complete a consent form, they are available at the district's website, and when this presentation is posted, it'll be as easy as clicking on that link. It'll take you right to that consent form. And remember, offering consent doesn't mean that you have to get tested. It simply means that you're able to. And the more information that we have, the more data that's available to us, the better the decisions that we can make as a school community. SR3 application, I've kept you updated on this. The award for Lee is $756,930. And 20% of that needs to be used to address what is, in quotes, learning loss through the implementation of evidence-based interventions. I did share a survey with families a little over a month ago, and we got 140 people to respond to that survey, which I thought was pretty good. The information from that survey I'm going to make available to the school committee so they can make sure that they see what was being asked and what the answers were, and it's going to help. It's going to help guide, I think, how we plan to use some of this money. That application is due on October 4th. I plan to have that prepared for submission in less than a month. School year opening plans, as I mentioned earlier, we're just a couple of weeks away. August 23rd and 24th will be professional development days for all staff. August 25th and 26th are half days for students, but full days for staff. So we'll be able to take advantage of some more professional development time for them. And then August 27th is a full day for all students and staff. I think it's a great opportunity for me to publicly thank Berkshire Taconic organization. They made a large amount of money available to Berkshire County school districts and to support the mental, physical, emotional health and well-being of our staff. And so I don't want to share the secret, but we got about $9,700 from them to be used for all staff members in the district. So not just teachers, but all of our employees. And we're going to have some nice things for them when they return to school on the 23rd and 24th. The focus for this year will be on accelerated learning. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has promoted acceleration versus remediation. And when I talk to you about what acceleration is, I think it makes sense. It means that we will be strategic in our delivery of grade level curriculum and instruction. This is more about giving students access to the curriculum that is designed for the grade level that they are at. It is less about looking in the rearview mirror and more about looking forward, using that windshield to guide us and making sure that our staff are doing everything that they can to support students where they are, but to keep in mind that we must keep them moving forward at their grade level. So it's going to be a concerted effort by everyone. We're going to move our students forward. They will be successful as we make our way through this school year. The unprecedented times need to be behind us. We need to be giving students every opportunity for success and delivering instruction the way that they desperately need.
Perfect, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mike? All right, next we have our principals and directors reports. So first we will hear from Tim Martin from the elementary school.
Thanks for having me here. We had a very successful summer program. We wrapped that up at the end of July. As Superintendent Richard said, we have a new dean of students, Katie DeVries. We're currently in the process of filling 2 teaching positions right now, as well as a shared school adjustment counselor between LES and LMHS. Grant applications are underway right now for this coming school year. Kindergarten packets will be mailed out to families this week and to the school at large at the beginning of next week. Both packets will be available online by the end of the week. The custodial staff has been doing a really good job on getting the building ready for the start of school. And I too look forward to all the kids showing up in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we hear from Greg Bergenti from Lee Middle and High School.
As excuse me, as Tim said, we're pushing forward to have everything ready in 2 weeks for when everybody comes back, and we're definitely looking forward to that. Included in that, as I mentioned last month, our new student information system is up and running. We are now fully in the new student information system and no longer in the old one. So that's exciting, at least for me. We also had a very successful expanded summer school this year. And about 55, I believe, was the final number of students who earned back credit in some way, shape, or form this summer through our summer program. Excuse me. Athletics begin on Friday, the 20th. That is coming up really soon. And that is football that begins on Friday, the 20th, and all other fall sports on Monday, the 23rd. So that's coming pretty quick. If anybody out there is listening and still needs to sign up, you definitely have time to do that. I'm happy to report that I had a meeting with the folks from Shakespeare and Company not too long ago, and we are, at least at this point in time, full steam ahead to bring back the Fall Festival this year after an absence last year. Obviously, with whatever health safety requirements are needed to be in place, but they're hoping for as full as possible of the Shakespeare and Company Fall Festival this year. So it's exciting for those kids who love that, and for everybody who likes to watch those plays, which are always great. And our open house will be scheduled for Thursday, September 16th this year. That's all I have.
And lastly, next we have Jen Norton with special education.
So special education, we've already have mentioned the grants that we've been working on. A little bit exciting is that we actually have 2 additional special education grants that are offering us about $53,000, and we're working as an administrative team to determine how to best spend those. I don't imagine that they will stay around after this year, so we're going to try to put them to some good use. And we're starting to talk about that today. We'll continue next week, so we'll let you know how that works out. I was lucky enough to be accepted into an early childhood education leadership institute, which is going to take place over this year. We're really trying to focus on our younger students, really from birth to 3, even though we really pick them up at 3 years old, and all the way through to 3rd grade, and really seeing what we can do to help mitigate some of these things that we've been through in the last year and a half, and move forward and maybe increase some services over the next year to 3 years. And preschool orientation for our integrated preschool program is going to be August, listed on the elementary school website, for both 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. There's 2 different times, I believe 9:30 to 10:30 for the 3-year-old program and 11 to 12 for the 4-year-old program. All I have right now.
And last but not least, Board Meyer with facilities.
Good evening, everyone. The facility continues to run well. We've completed our preventative maintenance and annual checks on all of our systems. None of the COVID mitigating placements in the air handling systems are going to be adjusted at all. So everything is going to remain as it was. We've done some beautification improvements to the facility. We've had the lines painted all over at both LES and LMHS. The team is strong. We're finishing strong, even though the summer was shortened a little bit. I'm sure we're all feeling that pinch. But we're all rolling together, and we have plenty of supply on hand to start the school year and to handle really whatever comes our way. So the tractor is in. That was a good purchase. We're going to be putting it to work here shortly. And the athletic season is kicking off, and the fields are looking great from the treatment. And unfortunately, all the rain we've had has kept our grounds crew as busy as all get out. But all in all, the health of the buildings remain the same, really. And we're just looking forward to a new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Okay, next thing on our agenda are our committee reports. And our first committee is Finance Subcommittee.
All right, thank you, Andrea. Today, earlier, we had our Finance Subcommittee, and we had 2 items on our agenda for approval. So the first one, which was approved, was the account payables for $206,000, $206,217.42.
So I'll entertain a motion for the first warrant.
I have a motion to accept the first warrant for $206,217.42.
Second. Any discussion? Okay. Brenda, can we have a roll call for that?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kennis?
Yes.
Mrs. Kushert?
Yes.
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
No.
All right. Next warrant was for our payroll. And that warrant was approved in today's subcommittee meeting for $262,424.74.
Okay, I will entertain a motion for the payroll warrant.
I motion that we accept the payroll warrant for $260,424.74.
We have a second? Any discussion? Okay. Brenda?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Ms. Keusherick?
Yes.
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
No.
All right. And then that was it for the finance subcommittee.
Okay. And then next up, we have the FY 21 budget reflection.
You know,
Please.
So, I guess it was last week, or last weekend, there was a request was made for some information for the committee to ponder. I did my best to get that information to the committee in the format that I tried, and I think that my understanding is that maybe some of that was based on the finance subcommittee. Some of that was for the special education stabilization conversation. So I don't know to what degree the committee wants to look at this data now or use it when you have the discussion around special education stabilization. So
I mean, I asked for it.
Yeah,
I
so
would like,
maybe, can we let you?
sure,
Yes.
so this school committee has, any school committee in Massachusetts has three things. We hire a superintendent, we oversee budget, and we oversee policy. So the budget's pretty big, you have to know what's going on, and we have a subcommittee that does that. So I'm going to defer to the chair of the subcommittee to explain the current situation of our finances and to tell us an update on what our ending balances are at this time.
So what I hear you saying, Ms. Wadsworth, is that you would like to have me give a report on the overall budget and finances. Is that correct?
Sure, that would be wonderful.
So I'm not prepared at this time to do that. So, well, how would you like to proceed, Ms. Wadsworth?
You're the chair of the finance subcommittee. I would love to have your input how to proceed.
I would like to table this for another discussion at another time, and we will get you the information that you need. But it'd be also helpful, Mrs. Wadsworth, if you have some insight that you want to share with us about how the finances were done when you were running things as the finance person, so we can understand what the needs are here. So that would be helpful as well. You know, this is a team atmosphere we're trying to create here.
Hold on 1 second. I am not an employee of the school district. I don't have to give you anything. I'm asking as an elected official of this school committee to know the current status of our finances. And if we can't get that from our superintendent business administrator, your role as the chair of the subcommittee is to know that at any given time.
So I think I'm going to step in here and say that I wouldn't know that. If I had been the chair of the finance committee, I wouldn't have known that was my role either. So.
This has been going on for a year.
Right.
And so when
this is where we're all falling apart in this whole.
well, we're falling apart because other members are attacking other members because they're asking for information. It's unfair.
Right.
It's unsolicited.
So this is part of the whole problem we have here is I think a lot of us don't know what our roles are. And
But when
know
I offer to help, I'm tagged as someone who's being an obstructionist. And when I don't help, I'm tagged as someone who's being an obstructionist.
Right.
It's very, very unfair from this seat.
Right, I understand that. And I'm the first to say you've been extremely helpful to me as someone who stepped into the chair role. But I will be the first to say that I had no idea that was the role of the chair of the finance. I'm not on the finance committee, but I had no idea that was the role of the chair of the finance committee.
They're supposed to give reports. And if we're not getting the reports, asking for things, we should be doing transfers. The tuition agreement should be up to date. And
this is part of that mentoring. Like, I think this is part of that like mentoring thing that we talked about as part of our goals.
who's going to mentor us?
No, so like this part of our mentor, like we need to like let people know, like if you're the chair of the school committee, like that's your role. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I would agree, except for the meeting prior to this, Mr. Kinnis was very aggressive with me and told me that there's many ways to get the information and I should just let the superintendent have the way to choose that. And that's what I've done. I'm not saying that do it my way. I'm saying I'd like to know what those ways are and I'd like to have the information.
I don't think it was a meeting before this exact meeting, sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought you got all the information you needed, Mrs. Wadsworth, and
I can ask for the information at any meeting I see fit.
I'm not suggesting you can't. I'm just suggesting that you got the information. I thought maybe you would share your insights on that information that you collected from the administration. So we have an opportunity to talk about that now, but apparently I'm too aggressive towards you. And if you feel that way, and I like to finish speaking, I sincerely apologize that you felt that I was aggressive in attacking you this afternoon.
Yes.
I think in an effort to try to move the conversation forward, if I could, I got a better understanding, I think, of what the request was during the finance meeting, and I'd be happy to provide that information to get you what you were looking for, Mrs. Wadsworth.
But it's not me. We
Well,
all
I
should be
understand.
asking for this
I
information. It's
understand.
not me being attacked, like getting a gotcha. I'm not doing a gotcha.
No, but all I'm saying is what I provided you, you said wasn't what you were looking for. So I will get you, I understand the clarification and I will provide a report that meets that need.
Right. And so once maybe what would be helpful for all of the committee is once you get the report, if you could then go over it with all of us and explain to us.
But you understand how I am very tepid about that.
I know, but I want you
This
to.
reaction is what I've been dealing with for a year.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do that. Figure it out yourselves if that's how this is going, because that's how I've done it. And I've been trying to be collaborative, but it's no fun to be on the receiving end of what happened in that last meeting. Or the smirks and the laughing at me. It's really, really counterproductive. And we don't do it, we don't allow it as children. We shouldn't be allowing it as adults. And as an adult, I'm advocating for myself at this meeting in this board.
I understand that. I'm advocating for myself. That's not my, budget is not my purview, Andrea, so I'm advocating for myself, saying that's your area of expertise. And I'm acknowledging that that's your area of expertise. For me, it would be helpful if once you got those documents, if you could explain it to me, because I don't understand. So I'm asking you.
And again, I've always said
I
I
know.
support every member.
I know you have, and I appreciate that. Okay.
And I also like to add that I haven't even been on the school committee for an entire year, not close yet. And we have several members that have just joined the Lee School Committee. So there is a learning curve here for all of us. And so to your point is that we all need to kind of figure this out together. And we need some assistance, as Andrea Larman had just suggested. So.
And I think that the first step we made was creating that SMART goal. And I think that, and I appreciate the people that showed up and worked for, I think, 3 or 4 hours straight to come up with that goal. And I think that that's going to help us with moving forward because we are such a new board with a very veteran member in Andrea Wattsworth, because you have, 8, 9 years experience. And it is very different, though I worked for school districts for a very long time. This is a very different thing sitting here than it is working for the district. I think what we're saying is we're tabling the discussion on the budget reflection because you're getting more up-to-date information from Mike that you.
I have everything I need, but I also know how to read this stuff.
Okay.
My question is, do the other members understand how to read this stuff?
No.
No. No.
But
That's
a
what
business
we're saying.
administrator would have walked you through that. And that is our superintendent. And so that should be happening at finance subcommittee, so Randy can walk us through it with the support of Mike. And we just haven't had that. And that's not because we don't know, it's just because we're not doing it.
So that needs to be a step that we look at moving forward. I think is a suggestion. Yeah.
I'm more than happy to sit down with Mike and go over the budget reflection. And I have no problem doing that. Again, not knowing that was part of the function of the subcommittee finance chair.
So,
Now that that's a function, I have no problem of going through this process.
Okay, so I will even ask this. As the finance subcommittee, you brought forward warrants this evening.
Yeah.
What's on them?
The details were given to us on that.
Give us a synopsis, because that's part of what we're looking towards the committee to do, the subcommittee to do. Like, we're gonna meet about policy, we're gonna discuss all the details and come back and give a recommendation and an overview, but we'll know those details.
Are you asking, or do we know the details? Yes, we looked at the details. We didn't talk about the details in the because there was no variances outside the budget.
I think what she's asking is, like, what was on, so what was the payroll? The payroll was,
I can pull up on the screen and go through it in detail if that's what we want to do at this time.
was the payroll, what consisted of teachers, salaries,
It was administrative staff. It's teacher. Yeah, I mean, it's based on the salaries.
What was it contained in the other one? Just give us a synopsis of what was in it. That's what she's asking for, like an abstract.
In previous times, we would give 3 examples of the highest disbursements. The chair would talk about those at the meeting, and then they would report it back to us. We didn't have to read it. Right now, the payroll should be significantly different because staff, teachers are off that. So we would have noticed that. We would anticipate that. We would talk about encumbrances and what the plan is. And so just different items so that this board can anticipate moves. But again, if Mr. Kinnis wasn't aware of that, I can't put that on him to know.
Well, again, I've been doing this now. As you notice, there's 2 people on the finance subcommittee, and I know that's going to change later tonight. But this is the process we've been going through since I started, because that's what I was told. And well, not told, but that's what I understood was the process. We would get the information, we would look at it and go over the warrants. And if I had any questions, which I've had with superintendent, we talked about it in the subcommittee meetings.
So I think what we can say now is we now know better, and we're going to change our ways, and we're going to improve our.
Well, oh yeah. I also like to do some research too. I think I want to go talk to other school committees and understand their process. So we're not just doing, what is being told we should be doing. I like to see what other districts are doing. And I have the resources to do that. So I'll do some research and research and report back on that.
I think that's a great idea. Okay. Are we good on that now? Okay.
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna move on to subcommittees. So y'all had homework. I see y'all taking pieces of paper out.
So are we not
So-
voting on tuition agreements?
Oh, yeah,
Voting on-
tuition agreement. Yes, sorry, thank you. So the tuition agreements we do need to vote on.
In our packets. Lots of these vote on budget transfers, but I don't know if the ones presented were even presented or voted on, ever. But that's here nor there. I'm not even gonna take it on.
It was not in the
No.
packet. It was emailed.
All right, so the budget transfers, I'm gonna, Mike, you ready?
No, there was one budget transfer that was listed in there. It was to move money for from the Shakespeare program to the athletic professional services and fees to account for those things that were in athletic professional services and fees would normally be covered by athletic revolving and gate receipts that weren't happening this year. Shakespeare program similarly did not take place this year, so we moved those monies to be able to cover those expenses.
When did we
The
do that?
date, well, so the date of that move was March 3rd.
So we could have voted on that, but we just don't know.
Didn't you say before if it was something that was already in the budget, we didn't have to vote?
You don't have to vote to expend it. So if they wanted to do 25,000 for the scoreboard, they had like 60,000 in the athletic line. So they could, and they weren't paying for coaches. So they could use that money to do the scoreboard. Now, there was about a whole discussion about transparency and we need to know that. And so that came from, onto this committee. And so my point of, we didn't need to know that was completely negated by that. And I was, sure, let's know everything. So when budget transfer, we oversee the budget. We set the lines, we set the funding. So when a budget transfer happens, it has to be approved at board level. So people just can't transfer out of one account.
Transfer has to be approved, but expenditure, if it's already there.
If it's in there, the line, we funded the line. So for example, if we put in $10,000 to fund Aaron.
Yeah.
Right? And it costs 5,000 and there was extra money, that would be brought to us and Mike would say, we have an extra $5,000. Can we put it in academics and fund some textbooks? And we would say, of course, that would be great. But all of that is lines that we control and we vote on.
That would be it.
Right.
Right, okay.
So I didn't know, I asked about transfers, we haven't seen any all year, which means our budget has been spot on, never adjusted, everything's funneling through correctly. And that is, it just doesn't happen, right? Budgets are a little thing. So,
Thank you for explaining that to me, because I was under the impression that if it was within, this is not my narrative, if it was within the budget, if it was already within the budget, that it would,
if it's already in the line,
Okay.
it's in the line.
so now I know, okay. good.
And different things for revolving accounts. That's, I think I have a revolving accounts up. So revolving accounts have different regulations, which we all should know. Yes, I'm sorry, Mike. Andrea.
Sorry, okay, so.
And this only
We
came
can't-
up because we were talking about a stabilization account after I wanted to know the balances of our account.
So we can't backdate approve something.
We can approve it as of the date he did it, sure.
Okay.
We can approve it today.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we need to, I will entertain a motion to approve the budget transfer for
$6,475.
$6,474,
$75
$75
from Shakespeare
from Shakespeare to
Athletic Professional Services and Fees.
athletic professional services.
So moved.
For a second. Any discussion? Frank?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Koshurik? Yes. Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Yeah.
The next would be the tuition agreement. So we have one with Caringham. So the tuition this year will be, I need to read the whole agreement. I'm just reading.
As long as everyone read it.
Did everybody read it? Have we gotten like, to the email? Okay.
I think it should be noted that per pupil cost is 19,000. And Jane, when you're approving tuition agreements,
So we're not sure. Yeah, which is why we have a working group. Yes. So I'll entertain a motion to approve of the Caringham tuition agreement for FY 2022. That is not as much as what we're paying for them.
So
Second,
I second it.
any discussion? Brenda?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Kosher?
Yes.
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Sorry. We lost it. That's Farmington number one. I'll entertain a motion to approve the FY 22 Farmington River tuition agreement. I can get it. Somebody's gonna make the motion. No, I'll entertain.
I'll make the motion to accept.
Wait a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Brenda?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Kosher?
Yes.
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
And Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes. Okay. And then the last thing on the list is the special education, I believe, stabilization fund. So I wanted to share with the public the response that we got back from the attorney, since they were privy to our discussion about the concerns we had about the fund. So what I did was, everybody around the table knows what I did, so this is just for the public. I sent a link to the recording of our school committee meeting and asked them to look at our discussion and give us some feedback. So the first letter that we received back said, I am writing this legal opinion regarding the formation and use of special education stabilization funds. Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30, 13E provides that any school district which accepts this section of the law by a majority vote of both the school committee and a majority vote of the legislative body may establish and appropriate or transfer money to a reserve fund to be utilized in the upcoming fiscal years to pay without further appropriation for unanticipated or unbudgeted costs of special education and recovery high school out-of-district tuition or transportation. The balance in such reserve fund shall be 2% of the annual net school spending of the school district. The law does not specify whether or not the school committee or the town must vote first, but does require a vote by both entities. Therefore, it does not matter which entity votes first, but both must vote affirmatively for the account to be established. Once a special education stabilization fund is created, funds in the reserve fund can only be expended or transferred out after a majority vote of both the school committee and selectmen or city council. According to the advisory on special education stabilization fund reporting on the activities of the fund that should occur as annual appropriation into a stabilization fund should not be reported as an expenditure of the end of year financial report. There is no reporting requirement for increasing the balance in the fund. Expenditures for the fund should be reported as an additional appropriation of the school committee in the appropriate function codes as schedules 1 and 3 of the end of the year financial report. Expenditures are made directly from the stabilization fund, so a transfer into general fund is not required. The committee then had some follow-up clarification questions. The first question was, could you please ask council the legal implications if the school committee did not request the funds, what then? The law does not provide for any particular implications based on whether or not a school committee requests the funds. This is likely because in order for the funds to be received, both the school committee and the municipal entity must vote to approve the funds. As such, to my knowledge, there are no legal implications if a school committee did not request the funds, because their vote is still required to accept such funds. Second clarifying question, did the superintendent have the legal right to speak for the board requesting the funds from the town when he was not instructed to do so by the committee? The law does not prohibit a superintendent from requesting such funds. Third clarifying question, who legally should be requesting the creation of the account? The law does not state that the specific person or entity must request the creation of the account. Rather, the law provides the requirements for how the account is officially created through a vote of both the school committee and the municipal entity. Next question, please have council define a special education stabilization fund and a special education reserve fund. The special education reserve fund was voted at town meeting and funded in June 21. Is this the same thing? Yes, they are the same thing. A special education stabilization fund is a reserve fund for special education services. Oh, sorry, expenses. More clarifying questions? The first one was, who does legal counsel work for? The legal counsel works for the school committee. And the second question was, based on legal counsel's experience in Mass, how many times has a fund been created prior to a school committee discussion, financial research, and board vote to move forward? I am unaware of any specific situation exactly like that one came up late. However, I would say that I provide legal advice. The only time our office would provide legal advice or opinions would be when we are asked for such. There could be many situations, even within our client base, where something like this may have occurred, but if legal advice was not requested, we would not be aware of it. That was the advice that we got from the book.
Can you describe to us how the discussion worked for the fund? How the discussion worked? Like it came into a discussion when you guys are meeting. Can you talk to us about the meeting?
Yes, so Mike and I met with Chris Ketchen and Nick, thank you, Arienti.
When?
February.
Yeah, Chris brought it, Chris Ketchen brought it and said that he was thinking of.
Yes, because they have it in Lennox and I've spoken to the chair and have it in writing that they had lengthy conversations before it came before any votes. Just that. How much money do we have in the sped revolving account?
I don't know the exact number, but it's about $196,000 in change.
Okay.
So the report Mike gave me, it says it's $243,960. How much money is the school revolving, school choice revolving fund that we use for circumstances like this?
School choice has, I think, $1.4 million.
$1.4 million. So we just asked the townspeople of Lee for another $125,000 without checking on this with this board. And it puts us in an interesting position. We're damned if we do and damned if we don't, because this is sped money for sped students. So we're backed into a corner. We almost have to accept it, or we look like we're not supporting sped, which is the authority of the board. We work as a unit. And I would just like someone to say, hey, we kind of screwed up here and this ended up this way. But instead, we're getting legal opinion after legal opinion saying, yeah, it's not defined. It's pretty much, there are best practices that happen. And I would have more respect and be able to support this better if someone said, hey, we were part of a conversation. We kind of screwed up and didn't tell everybody. And we really thought this was a good idea. We made a mistake, right? But none of that is happening at all. This is, hey, take it or leave it. So that's just how I feel about this. You ask for these things because you want to protect students. And I even have more respect if someone said, hey, we've got a lot of CARES funds and this would be a great use for them. Let's sock it away. Great. But instead, legal opinion after legal opinion saying, yeah, you actually have authority, but no authority because it's not defined. So that's just my personal opinion as one member of the board. I just don't know why we asked for funds why we requested and got on a warrant for funds that we did not ask for as a board vote without any discussion about our financial status.
But my understanding, the reason why there was an ask for a legal opinion was at the last meeting, you said you thought this may be illegal to do that.
I never said that, and I'd be happy to pull up any minutes or recording. I never said it was illegal. Please don't put words in my mouth.
I would go back to the recording and see. I do remember hearing that. So that's just one committee member's recollection of that conversation.
I think we just wanted to make sure that we were doing everything above the board. So we did ask, say that.
I did ask for legal opinion. I did
Yeah.
not say it was illegal
Yeah,
what we
we
did.
did say that we would seek legal opinion, and that I did do. So I did follow through on that and seek legal opinion on the discussion.
So really all you need is a vote to accept the stabilization account.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
So I will entertain a motion to accept the special education stabilization fund.
Can everybody talk a little louder than that? Someone, I would recommend, it goes back to the taxpayer. And I would recommend if this board would like to have it, we start having a discussion openly in an open session, why it would be important, how it would be created, how we would find and how we would get the fund out, how we would protect the student identity. If we don't have any money to go to that, and usually it's like people be very careful.
No, nobody on this end can hear her. Sorry, we can't hear Andrea.
That seems soft.
You may need to, now with the airline, you may need to turn on individual microphones. Yeah.
So I had asked. I don't know.
So I'm gonna have to. You need some.
Is that better? Can you hear us now? Randy, can you hear us now?
Yes.
So I had asked a clarifying question when it comes to budget, and I will extend it to funds. Is it the committee's purview to approve or to request budgets and funds?
Approve every budget. All funds are overseen by the school committee. So if there's a so there's different kinds of funds. There's the operating budget, and then there's revolving funds, which is where our excess sometimes sits, there's laws that pertain to them. But that is all overseen by the school committee too.
So
I think the question is, the school committee approves the request of the town.
We could,
Of
but
what
that's
we-
a creation of an account, different than what you're asking. A stabilization fund, we vote to ask them to create one on their side of the books. And so it's, we're governed by our own laws, they're governed by their own laws. So we're autonomous from each other. The minute that we have another account on that side, then they also have to vote to accept the account. Then it's funded through the town meeting, which the two things didn't happen, and then it got funded.
And again, clarifying what legal said is that it could start at the town to us.
I don't know, we could start either one.
Yes.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
just
yeah.
clarifying, so. it
So
doesn't
did they have a vote, I guess? Did they have a vote?
It says, I think they did.
To create a-
They created to fund the line. I thought it was the selectmen that have to vote.
That
They're the legislative body, aren't they?
I didn't know
They're the
whether it's the
executive.
select board or whether it's town meeting as the,
Didn't they already have a whole person gone through the line?
They voted the line. And so
Isn't that considered their vote?
I don't know. See, these are questions we'd ask ahead of time. And then there's a finance committee that makes the recommendation to the town meeting. That's why I got up and asked, I don't even know how this got on here without a discussion. So yes, I guess in theory they could do it themselves, but why would you engage that way and just create something and then not engage the board that you're working to partner with? It's a partnership, with stabilization. And then to get the money out, we have to go to them together, explain why we need the money, and then they vote, and it's all voted in public. Again, I totally support stabilization funds. The reason why we've worked very hard to make sure we have reserves so that we never have to get to that point, so we can cover the students without having a public thing.
And I think to alleviate your concern, perhaps, I'm sort of thinking this through. When it comes to the public side, it can be student X or student Y. It doesn't have to have a name and an address.
You can't get it in. You can't get it, right?
So to alleviate some
It doesn't
concerns of
look
names,
Doesn't, I've seen it happen many times. Again, I don't know if you've seen it happen, but when a family moves in and all of a sudden, Richmond, we talked about this. Now, people may not know who their family is. I don't, and I don't ever want to know. But that town knew what was happening. And I just think we should protect students.
But it's because they didn't have students.
And so they had a discussion about that.
Right.
But did they have a discussion before they created the account?
They don't have.
But they were having a discussion.
I don't, they still don't have an account. They had to, the discussion happened.
But they still have to have that discussion even with the city. You know, it's still a public forum.
Right, but the discussion became very, very heated. It wasn't.
Well, and it gets heated because all of a sudden you're asking taxpayers to take on this liability and they feel like they're taking money and nobody wants to feel that way.
Right.
That's why the school works very hard to protect that situation. And if we were in a different time and we need stabilization, I'm not even saying we don't. Maybe we do. Maybe we do. But I don't know that any taxpayer is going to say you have $1.7 million sitting there and you want to take another $125,000 so that you can put it away in an account in case you spend the 1.7. And now that this has come up, there are times we have a hard time getting our school budget through. And don't think that this isn't going to be a problem now on. It's going to be a problem because everyone's going to think that we're asking for money that we don't need. And that's what I was trying to avoid by not talking about it in a meeting. So if the school committee wants to stabilization account, I suggest they have a dual meeting with the selectmen and discuss that.
So I move to table this vote today on the fund and refer it to a joint conversation of the school committee and the superintendent.
All right, Brenda, you have a roll call?
Mr. Alvin,
Yes.
Mrs. Ennis,
Yep.
Mrs. Fisher, and Mrs. Harmon.
Yeah.
Mrs. Strickler,
Yes.
Mrs. Watson.
Yes. I just have to make a comment. I would prefer a school committee member never have this happen. That the board is circumvented that.
I don't think.
I
that was
absolutely
the
take
intent.
offense to that
Yeah.
statement.
I don't think that was the intent.
There was never a circumvention of any type, Mrs. Wadsworth. I was asked by the town administrator if that's something that I would support. My answer was yes. Mrs. Larman was at that meeting.
So at
I
the town meeting, when it came up, I texted you and said, what's going on? And you said, no one, we don't know who gets to do it first. It can just happen.
Because you sent me an image of the law, the same law that legal was referred to. And when I read that, I said, it doesn't cite the order.
It was
So-
mentioned one time in that meeting and then that was it.
That was it.
So then
And
I
so
would
I didn't
recommend,
even know
so
until the
then,
warrant.
Mike, I will take that back. Here's what I recommend. I would recommend you get a mentor as a business administrator, because every business administrator who carries a license would have probably known that particular law. So I really would love if we could pair you up with someone through the organization just to help you through these little bumps.
Thank you.
I think the school board should pay for that. If there is a charge.
Okay, subcommittees.
Sure
Everybody got their homework? Okay. All right, so here's what I'm doing. I'm just going around and y'all are gonna tell me what committee you want to be on.
Okay, definitely not mine. I know, 100%. I know my strengths and that's not one of them.
Okay,
Okay, I'm gonna go for curriculum.
Yep.
Policy.
Yep.
Negotiations.
Yep.
And my last one, the strategic and long range plan.
that is in the middle of is being done right now, so you're gonna need to work with Mike to get on that committee if you're not already on.
Okay.
Aaron, you did email me.
Yes.
I got you down for policy,
Yes.
technology.
I didn't put technology down. I put down diversity that it's passed.
Yep, oh, we didn't.
I'm sorry, technology. I'm sorry, my fault. Technology.
We didn't vote in the diversity, we just voted, we quickly vote in the diversity, equity, and can somebody make a motion to vote in the diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I motion that we accept the creation of a subcommittee of policy, inclusion, and equity.
Diversity, equity, and
Diversity and
as said. Second,
I'll second.
any discussion? Brenda, can you put the roll call? I'm sorry, Brenda. I have to remember.
Mr. Alvin,
yes.
Mr. Dennis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher. Yes. Ms. Harmon,
Yes,
Mrs. Strickler,
Yes.
and Mrs. Watson.
yes. Aaron, are you staying on the finance committee?
I prefer to move on to other strengths that I do have.
Got it. All right, Randy, no, yes, Randy, you're next on my list.
Yeah, I'm staying with what I'm on, and then I'll add DEI,
I've only got you on finance, so I don't know what else you're on.
Union 29, strategic planning.
That has to be voted, so hold that thought. Finance and you're on-
Strategic planning and DEI. What am I, I'm on something 29.
that has to be voted. Unit 29 has to be voted, so hold that thought. Andrea Wadsworth, I have you on negotiations. Staying there? Yep. Policy,
Well, it sounds like you have a lot on policy.
we do.
So I'll
We
do,
have three of us if I stay.
okay, so I'll do,
We're coming off of policy.
I'll do tech and shared services.
Huh? Kirk already sent me his, Betsy. We have 3 on DEI, we only have 2 on curriculum, and we only have 2 on finance. This one, we only have 2 on shared services. Well, Nicole, I guess it's just you and me, babe.
Well, that's my favorite one, so let's.
So who's got
4 though? If anyone has 4, everyone should have only 3.
Negotiations has 4.
So that's too many anyways for.
I'll come off
Put
negotiations.
this at 4.
Oh, no, I can't, because I'm not. So Nicole, me, Betsy, and you are.
So just, I'd like to say, just for the fact that I have been in negotiations for a couple of times, and it would take somebody, you have to have someone who's done it once or twice. But I'll defer to the group. I'm happy
Oh,
to
I'm
step
not
on.
on curriculum. I lied. I'm sorry. I didn't put an X in there. We're good. I'm sorry. I'm gonna come off of it.
Yeah, anyone can call anything they want to
Okay.
at this point.
All right, so we've got 3 on everything but shared services and strategic planning, but I think we're good with regards to strategic. Yeah. Okay. Union 29. Yep, sorry.
I know exactly. I'm
Yeah.
just, what is perk assigned? Because you just sort of skipped over.
Kurt is assigned to, Kurt assigned himself to everything but negotiations and policy. So he's on, this is a shared document that Brenda created, and so well, I'm gonna send it out.
Okay, great. I'm done.
Brenda, as usual, is light with my load. So she won't have, this is your document. Brenda. So I'm just texting it into your document. So, okay, so everybody's on. Everybody got what they wanted. So the next thing we need to do is, I am the only member of Union 29, right? Because I have an automatic seat. Am I correct in that? Yeah. So now we need to find out who's interested, right? And then take nominations.
I mean, I'm happy to sit up now if someone, if no one else, if there's other people.
Okay, so how do we do the same way we do nominations for this? So do I do that? Yep. I take, all right. So I'll entertain nominations for Union 29.
So I'm going to nominate Andrea Watson to sit on Union 29. So
We have a second for Andrea Wadsworth on Union 29. Right? Do we have any other? Like, we vote on that one, or we keep going?
you need to,
I know, and then we need an alternate too, right?
well, we always say an alternate. Yeah.
Okay. So we have Andrea, and then we need 2. So do we have anybody else who's interested that would like to either nominate themselves or nominate somebody else?
I'll nominate myself to be on it.
All right, so Randy's nominating himself. Anybody want to second that one?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so.
Yeah, and then the alternate, I'd like to nominate Kurt, because he's going to be on the subcommittee.
Oh, yeah, for our working group, yeah. So do I take them one at a time?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
We can do
for.
the slate, we could say, you could vote in the slate, but you can.
Okay, so, for Andrew Wadsworth, can we have a roll call, please, Brenda?
Yes.
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 Yes. And then for Randy.
Yes.
Mr. Pettis,
Yes.
Mr. Short,
Yes.
Ms. Larmen,
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
And then your Kirk is our alternate.
Who seconded that?
Oh,
We didn't.
I'm sorry. Who wants to second it?
I'll second it.
Thank you. And then can we have a roll call?
Yes.
Mr. Pitts?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Yes. Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Okay. Next, MAS survey. I need y'all to tell me which one of the surveys you want to use. We go around again. Nicole, which one?
It's called the SC self-evaluation.
Okay. Thank you.
I like the self-evaluation rubric.
I'm gonna go with the rubric.
I put the chart in the first one.
Two and one. Well, what about Randy? Oh, Randy. Randy,
Yes.
what did you pick?
I can't, yeah, you keep fading out. I'm sorry.
Which survey did you pick? Tell me the document name. When you're not on mute.
I forgot which one I picked. I'll go with the group.
We need you to break it. It's a tie.
Well, as the partner one is a 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that's how I remember that.
Yeah. Do you want the rubric or the SC self-eval?
Rubric.
Right, rubric it is. All right, I will send that out. We all need to fill it out before our next meeting, which is on, help me, September 14th. Okay, next, new business. School book, student handbook changes. I don't care who gets first.
All right, I'll go first. The LMHS student handbook changes that I'm requesting are pretty minimal this year. There's really 2 items. The first is actually a pretty big item. Last year, for those of you who may remember, that we had a lot of changes to the handbook due to the pandemic and the various policies and guidelines from DESE that were put in place. Based upon the latest guidance from DESE, I am asking to remove basically all of those pandemic guidelines and replace that language in the handbook with the statement that you have there. In front of you. The one major exception that we would keep is we want to keep water fountains as bottle filling stations only and no direct mouth filling again this year. And then obviously we have the caveat there that as the pandemic conditions change, this committee may make additional policy changes, which would then have to be reflected as handbook procedures and we will notify the school community of those changes. Obviously, a big question mark there to be determined Thursday, hopefully, with advanced policy and procedure. Excuse me. The second change that we are looking to make in the middle and high school handbook for this year is to actually remove the entire section on mid-year and final assessments. We did not have mid-year and final assessments this year due to the pandemic. And the faculty, through some conversations with department heads, would like to actually get rid of those 7 or 8 days of the school year that in the past we have taken for high school students. Classes did not meet. They would have 1 or 2 finals a day for 4 days, 3 or 4 days in January, 3 or 4 days in June. The benefit of those days we see as minimal currently as we move more and more towards competency-based grading. And that any classes which did not still have final assessments could schedule those during past periods. We don't need to eliminate 7 or 8 meeting dates from the school calendar. So those would be the 2 changes we are asking for the middle and high school.
Any discussion?
Yes. So, I understand we want to clean up the handbook. I totally never usually say anything about the changes, but we're not out of the pandemic, and I'm just wondering if we want to take all this away. Maybe some of it, but like hand washing seems like something we might want to keep. Unless, yeah, I don't know, but this is what I do. And we're going back into meeting all of these regulations. And I just think we need to keep them in or have stronger language and give the administration flexibility that they need to put things in. They're not calling the board meeting for us to put policy in.
So I have to say, I agree. I just have a question. Is there, I have to do this today. I feel like it's a little premature when we're going to do Thursday. I just feel like what's the rush to get out.
Well, school starts in 2 weeks.
But nothing that's happening.
No, but we do have to have an approved handbook in place for starting school.
Could we amend the posting on Thursday to include the entire board to discuss masking and then put this handbook on there also? I mean, there are things I'd like to keep, like I think we should do hand washing, just as, because that's like the first line of defense, social distancing. We're not doing that anymore, but I could get, I think I'd feel more comfortable if we just put. Yes. Well, and I agree, Andrew, with your statement of providing flexibility so that they don't have, so that we don't have to come back to another meeting. So whether it's conversation hour. There is no language. So we're
Hand washing.
Oh, I'm saying everything. I mean, I get we're not changing the schedule, right? Because that talks about student arrival, but that might change, right? If we have a huge breakout, or we change student arrival. If we have a huge, I mean, right now we're red, right?
I would, based on what I've heard from Desi this year, and Mike, please feel free to jump in if I'm wrong on this. I do not see any forthcoming change of fully in-person learning for the school year. The commissioner has been very clear that all students will be back in school at all times.
Yeah. So he's gonna leave it up to us to mask wearing, and there's advice coming all over the place across the state that boards, what boards are doing. Right. So what I'm saying is, if student dismissal isn't needed, you can take that out, student arrival, but leaving some of this in just to. I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me why that doesn't work.
Is it possible to have a handbook A that is approved tonight and then a contingency handbook when there's the threat of more pandemic issues coming down the pipeline?
So I personally, I would not want to do that. I would think we need a single handbook. I know that in the case of high schools, we actually have to submit the approved handbook to the state each year. So I don't think we could submit multiple handbooks. I would say some of these items,
Like,
we have to remember that handbooks are the guidebook, right, the overarching rule book for the school. just because something is not included in the handbook doesn't mean it's not important. Hand washing is something that we're going to continue to encourage, whether it's listed as a special section in the handbook or not. I think that's safe to say. If we think it's important enough to maintain that at the beginning of the handbook this year in the special section that we had last year, I'm perfectly fine with that. But just not everything is always in the handbook. There are certain things on this list that we wanted to highlight last year because of the pandemic. We did not know going into last school year a lot about what was going on with the virus. So, I am fine with some of these things, mask wearing. We're going to, once the committee makes a decision, we can notify everybody about that and certainly include that in there if that's part of your motion on Thursday. Number 2 on there, social distancing. I haven't heard any conversations about the need to maintain that in schools this year. In fact, the commission was very clear in saying there are no social distancing guidelines.
Yeah, this board could say, we don't need masks, but everyone's got a social distance. We're not going, we're not going to work that. But
So, if you want to delay this till Thursday night, I would say that's fine. But I would also say that since that's the last possible school committee member saying based on conferences, we would need to have this approved on.
And I'm not meeting next week.
Well, Randy could call me as vice chair.
We also have, it would be nice if you gave us time to get the final handbook together.
Yeah.
So I would say if you wanted to delay these until Thursday, that is certainly possible. Although I will say, other than mask wearing and possibly hand washing, and I already mentioned water fountains, nothing else on this list would really apply much this year.
And there's a statement that says they result in policies being adjusted. So again, like the handbook, the policies.
Even restroom, everybody back, we're going to have to be more flexible on restroom usage in between periods this year. It's just with 300 and kids back in the building. We're going to have to relax some of these in order to get the school to work. Yeah, and again, it's up to the committee. If you'd like to delay till Thursday, that's certainly doable.
May not be bad to give you the 2 days to review it, think about it, even if it's here from your constituents.
You have a motion. I have a motion on the table. You have a second. You have a second. We're going to discussion.
Yeah.
So you can either, some of them hold the motion, whoever made it, or they can, amend the motion. Or call for a vote. Yeah. Right? Call for a vote. I pull the motion. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we add this to the agenda for Thursday and that the agenda get amended. It's already posted, so that's fine.
Yeah.
And that to include a vote on the handbook. On both.
For both schools.
Actually, yours and you. Yeah, you have little kids.
So,
Yeah.
could I ask the committee to maybe hear from Mr. Martin, because he's got a conflict on Thursday night, don't you? Have interviews or something?
Yeah, 5 to 6. Yeah.
So if there's a chance that he can speak to his own.
Yeah, well, my motion didn't get seconded, so maybe we're not
I'm
doing
sorry,
it. No, that's fine, maybe it's dead, right on the table.
Any discussion? Brenda? Roll calls.
Mr. Alvin,
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth,
Yes.
Mrs. Martin.
Yeah.
Mrs. Strickler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wattsworth.
Yes.
So our handbook is set up a little bit different than Principal Bergenti's. However, in the beginning, there was a letter from Kate Russell just describing in detail what the different COVID restrictions were, from mask wearing, social distancing, hand washing. There was a lot of overlap between the two, just a little bit of a different format. So I asked to pull the first 2 pages, which covered those things, and then we added in orange to 15 different pages how COVID would impact each section of that handbook. So I
recommended that we take out what's in orange, which are those parts specific to COVID and those specific parts of the handbook. We also adopted similar language to that introduction that Principal Kenton used for his handbook, so that there was some continuity between the two handbooks between the two schools. We have a lot of parents who have their 1 foot in LES and 1 foot in LMHS, and I think it's important to have some common language, especially something as important as coming out of COVID protection. So some specific examples, parts. Says there'll be no breakfast program for the time being. Students should arrive at 8:50 a.m. That's different this year. We will be having a breakfast program. So there are things that we absolutely need to pull out of there so that we look more accurate to what it is we're doing, as well as taking on the piece that talks about specific parts of COVID.
Are we accepting it?
I don't know what anybody.
Okay. I thought we were
I thought we
pushing
were
it
doing
Thursday.
both, but I didn't know if we made a motion for both handbooks. or if
I think we included both,
Okay.
but
All
we
right.
had some talks and.
Okay, I just want to make sure we made a motion for both. I didn't know if we made a motion for both.
And this is highly unusual. We don't ever like request.
I know.
I'm sorry, guys. We don't ever question the handbook, but it's different times.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is.
Did we?
Yes.
For Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I missed it, sorry.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is, how would y'all like to conduct these meetings in the future? So we have the option of doing Zoom meetings until April. And so I think as the 6 of us are here, the 6 of us, 6 of us,
Okay.
yeah, the 6 of us, who volunteer our time, we should make the decision as to how we want to do these meetings. So our options are, we can do them in person and we can contact CTSB and have them come and video us. And we can have people come in person. Back there again. We can keep doing them in this fashion, in a hybrid fashion, or we can do them completely Zoom where y'all can be in your homes on the computer. So I am going to let y'all vote as to how you want to do them because I think it's personally.
We can make so we make a motion, so we can have a discussion. So I make a motion that we discuss the format of the new school committee meetings.
Second.
All right, so let's discuss it.
Second motion, I'm sorry. Actually, 2 people did that. That's Rand.
Yeah.
So I think it's very convenient for the public for remote.
I agree.
I think it's very good for the committee to be in person.
Agreed.
But personally, I am worried about COVID spiking up I'm vaccinated, I can say that if I disclose myself, but if people have small children, we should be masked just to protect them and that.
Right.
And I also have someone in my family that has a weak immune system. I prefer not to be exposed if I don't have to. I thought we were coming, so I'm doing that as my role as a volunteer. If I had that option, I probably would protect my family. So that's just my particular. I defer to the board.
Yeah, in my, I think that having the meetings in person are important, but if we're, mandated for indoor masks, I don't see the need to meet in person if we have to wear masks. So I'd like to have the option to meet at our own personal homes, via Zoom. And I agree with Andrea. Wadsworth that the Zoom is the way to go to get more public input and more people to participate?
I agree. I think the public audience that we've had in the last sort of year and a half has been remarkable. So thank you, public audience that is sitting out there right now, because we don't typically have that many people.
We're seeing it all over.
This has been fantastic, which is one of the reasons. Thank you, Ginger. Which is one of the reasons. Which is one of the reasons why I've really pushed for the hybrid model, because I appreciate being able to see my counterparts' faces across the table, but I also appreciate the fact that we've had an audience. But I also don't want people to feel like just because I'm here, y'all have to be here. I agree, if we get to a point where indoor masking is mandated, none of us want to be there masked. We did it last year because that was really important, but
And then there's that. And then maybe in this year too. Yeah. And then there's that, if we're asking people to come to school, masked or unmasked.
Yeah.
Then,
so.
The idea of hybrid, knowing we'll be flexible because everything under COVID has to be flexible. So
I mean,
this
thank you, Greg Briganti, has changed the scope of things. And having, our tech, having you guys up on the TV has really made it.
I can tell you that it doesn't work as well as you think. Just because of the fact that I'm not there at the meeting, and I've heard in some of the chats on this that people are having a difficult time hearing.
Okay.
Like conversations in the back where Andrea Larman is. It's hard to hear for us out in the Zoom world. So I think if there's a way to, speak up or make it more apparent that we can hear you.
I think we can probably move to the other end of the table next year. If we do this again, we'll make sure that.
Because right now you just faded out.
I said maybe we could use the conference room. Greg's got quite a nice setup in his conference room next to his office.
Because again, being asked every 30 minutes, my asthma is a problem for me. Even when I'm in the classroom, I have to get mask breaks outside the door with my asthma. I have my inhaler. Without vaccination. On top of that, I have a small child.
So fully Zoom is better.
Fully Zoom would be better. Also, my wife, he's health compromised too. So whether we go with, I know. However, I know she was.
I got your back, Lois.
So, those factors, I mean, you have to make that personal choice. Hybrid needs the flexibility once. For those who are able to come in person can do it. For those who, for whatever reason, for family or personal health, then be in a safe environment to conduct as representative of the school committee. And also with Zoom, I think it's great for people in the public having access to facilities that take their own home, and also whenever they're available.
Right. Making dinner or what do you think?
I think that being new to the, I really love the in-person aspect, just like the teaching and learning, it just feels good, the basics when you're new and get to know each other a little bit better. But of course, from the safety aspect, as a mother who does have to go to the home, we're masked up everywhere, all over the place. Things are so make a suggestion that we let each other know what we're doing with routines. If you know, because I text Andrew today, I'm like, are we remote? Or are we together?
I'm like, we are technically remote, but I'll be there. Like, so, yeah, I have no problem as the chair emailing out like ahead of time saying, because I think that the way we've been writing it on the help me, Brenda, thank you, is hybrid. We've been writing hybrid, and that we're gonna be here and Zoom. But what I'm happy to write, like, send out an email saying, like, I'll be there in person, and who wants to join? The advantage to that is that lets Brenda know if she wants to express or not, because if we're not, this is time consuming.
Well, when Brenda sends the posting, she can just put in a question in the email, which she sent out. And then we just tell Brenda if we're coming or not.
Yeah, that would be great.
And as long as we agree to do it 48 hours before.
Yeah.
So Brenda doesn't make a call. Then we-
That would be great. We'll work on making the robot thing better. Maybe we post it to
Yeah, we're nice. $1,000, about 1,200, a little late. I don't know. It follows you though. When you speak, the owl moves.
The issue with this would be the air conditioning.
Yeah.
So if the air conditioning had to take down that 1%, we're getting complaints before the air conditioning.
Why would you think
If we're in a room that doesn't have that
Yeah.
noise from the air system.
you're? So then I think we need a motion to.
I'll amend my motion to, to get a motion on the floor to
Okay,
discuss
thank you.
about I amend my motion that we have our meetings hybrid going forward.
So moved.
All right, Brenda, can you give us a roll call?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Shirt? Yes. Ms. Marvin?
Yes.
Mrs. Strickler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth? Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for your input. Okay, next meeting is September 14th. No, I lie, our next meeting is Thursday, August 12th at 5:30.
Brenda, I'll be remote for that meeting.
5:30. Yes, everybody is remote.
Okay,
We're not here in person. Because I will be packing. So we will be, everybody will be remote. Do not show up. Don't come.
All right.
Remote
Okay, so
in.
this is a good
Yeah.
example. So once, should, because the chair doesn't decide on.
Okay, y'all
right?
can show if you want.
I'm just saying, if you wanted to show up, you could. But I think we should tell Brenda what we're gonna do.
I will not be here, Brenda.
Andrea and Andrea are gonna be remote.
I'll be remote.
I won't do.
Me too.
Brenda will, Betsy will also be remote. And so will, Randy, and Kirk is not coming here to email me, tell me what's coming. So we're all gonna be remote. Okay. Anything else that we need to discuss? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I think the motion to adjourn meeting.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Brenda, can you roll call us out, please, my dear?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Ennis?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes. And we are adjourned at 8:49 PM. I will see everybody on Thursday.